Our topic this afternoon, we want to look at whether the opposition, with their coalitions, with their formations, will be able to defeat President Yoweri Museveni come 2026 general elections. And then later, we will be looking at Soroti City in a nutshell, because the Honorable ATTAN here is one of those who lost the previous elections when Soroti City East went for a by-election. So how strategical this time around that we can make it, or you can make it for Parliament this time around. So I want to begin by saying thank you so much, the Honorable Moses ATTAN OKIA. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes. Now, to set the ball rolling, I want us to begin addressing the issues of Parliament, where we have the opposition, members of Parliament, we have those in the ruling party, and we have those who are in Parliament as independents. Now that we are running for 2026 general elections, there are narratives that the opposition capacity in Parliament will be able to go down since the president is strategizing on issues of making this country change economically. Is that narrative correct to you?
Thank you very much. My name is ATTAN OKIA Moses. ATTAN means a well, OKIA means a medicine man, and Moses means a liberator.
Oh, and so you have the combination of Moses that the Lord sent to
rescue the children of Israel from captivity.
And then ATTAN?
ATTAN is the source of water, the well. As we are in this struggle to liberate the suffering people, we will be walking along the journey.
Then
and as the people fall sick, we're giving them medical care, and we trek the journey.
Oh, that's a good connection.
And I've told myself, and I keep telling people, I am in politics by passion. I studied sciences at A level, and I abandoned them and went to study political science at Makerere University. And I am not in politics by accident. I am in politics by choice and by passion. And that's why I can withstand all that I have gone through since I started participating actively in politics.
Okay.
But I started in politics as a follower, following the late Honorable Peter Molo, following Dr. Besigye, following the Honorable Engineer Patrick Oboya Muriat, my current party president, when they were in this municipality, back then when I was a student in Teso College, Aloet. And I grew that passion as a result of reading about the history and the past glorious Teso, where our grandparents were proud, and the wealth they possessed, they were able to take their children and become professors and doctors, and we had quality, better living conditions. To come to your question,
yes,
I want to believe that His Excellency should focus on getting the living conditions of Ugandans to improve than focus on reducing the numbers of opposition in Parliament. Why do I say so? Opposition members of Parliament are a small representation of the Ugandans who are not comfortable with the status quo. And if you focus on the Parliament, rather than address the glaring inequalities, poverty, the suffering, the collapsed health, education, infrastructure, you miss the point. In this country, Its Excellency, to focus on transforming it economically, socially, will be a better milestone to record on his legacy than to record on his legacy that he finished opposition in Parliament. Opposition does arise as a group of people opposed to the status quo, and we say we do not agree with your way of doing things and your approach.
But then as you continue, Honorable Moses ATTAN, they say politics is a game of numbers. Politics is about having a big number on your side and to have one common agenda. Would that work for you as opposition as well, that you need numbers the same way NRM is doing?
Yes, I will agree that politics is a game of numbers from a transactional perspective. That you want to win a vote and you want to have the powers that be. But from a transformative perspective, politics is about who gets what, when, and how. And politics that is transformational is to help lift your people from suffering and poverty. Uganda by 1974 were donors to United Arab Emirates. We were at the same level with Singapore and Taiwan by the time we get independence. Today, Singapore are in the first world. Taiwan have left us. We are now having our sisters and brothers go to the United Arab Emirates. Now, the politics of numbers, how has it helped? Let me pick Teso sub-region, and I'll pick Karamoja sub-region. The majority members of parliament of Karamoja are NRM. The majority members of parliament of Teso are NRM. But poverty has worsened in Karamoja and Teso in the past 4 years. That is Uganda National Household Survey Report, 2023-2024. The question now that you and me and the viewers must answer, is it the question of numbers that would help the people transformed out of poverty and suffering? Government governs to help lessen your suffering. They collect our taxes to utilize them for the good of helping you, your children, and your generation suffer less. Today, in Acholi sub-region, the voices from Acholi have spoken, they have fought. Out of 100 people, 97 out of 100 were poor by 2019. Today, 2025, they are less than 29 people who are poor out of 100. They have been able to reduce their poverty rate from 67.7% to 20-something. In Teso, your poverty, our poverty, has gotten worse in the past 4 years. Now, that begs the question, what is the caliber of leaders and what is the caliber of legislators we are having, whether in NRM, whether in opposition, and what is the response of government towards a sub-region? Actually, are the only region that had an MOU with the government by then President Museveni contesting in 2020-2021 of their demands, while Teso had no tangible demands. And the legislators of Acholi parliamentary group will stand up to what they want for their people. While Teso parliamentary group, we are standing out on pull him down, pull her down. The infights within the NRM leaders of Teso are so bad that...
So how is it affecting the entire system then? Because
it affects...
if you say in northern Uganda, you had both opposition and then the ruling party, and they were able to work out for the people of Acholi or northern Uganda. Now in Teso here, there's a question. How is it affecting here the people of Teso politically and even economically?
Politically, we have a weak voice at the national level. Economically, our poverty is getting worse. Why? Because the demand and the pressure to be exerted on the central government is not there. It's about individual enrichment and growing powerful as individual political actors in the sub-region at the expense of the masses. Look at health infrastructure. From the time you cross Bugisu to enter Teso, to the time you cross Teso to enter Karamoja and towards the waters in Serere. the quality of health care services is deplorable. We have the worst regional referral hospital in the country. That is Soroti Regional Referral Hospital. That Soroti Regional Referral Hospital is not for Soroti East Division, not for Soroti City. It is for Mother Teso sub-region.
So where did that challenge start with us as Teso?
That's what I'm explaining to you.
Because now, Honorable, we have leaders that we have been voting from the time we had Constituent Assembly. And now these health centers have always been there from time memorial. And, you know, there was a time Teso voted and actually it was fire. You remember? And people gave it.
And indeed, when Teso
voted, gave it. Maybe you
when
could also
Teso voted in 2006,
the differences with the system that you
when Teso voted FDC in 2006,
yes,
there are categorical deliverables, including Soroti University, tangible. It was started in that reign. Why? Because politics and the political leadership of this country heeds to pressure and demand. And Uganda now has been prioritized by the regime by virtue of the fact of how they voted. So when 2006 they voted FDC, we were able to get more from government than what we have got in the past 10 years. And when Engineer Patrick Oboy Amuriat stood up to contest, he was not embraced by Teso. He lost Teso sub-region. But one interesting thing is that members of parliament were asking from the president millions of money to help him defeat Amuriat, but could not ask for sorting health center 3 in their constituencies, sorting health center 4s in their districts, but could ask how to defeat Amuriat. Amuriat lost the election. And in response, we were able to have a number of appointments. For the first time, we got the vice president, we got the speaker, we got cabinet minister and more state ministers. But the question is, what has changed? Nothing has much tangible changed if you look at the quality of health services in the regional referral hospital and the district hospitals across the board. You look at the quality of infrastructure. In the NDP that is expired, we had the ring road.
So that is the
from
National
Kumi,
Development Plan.
National Development Plan. We were supposed to have had the road of Ngora to Serere, up to the waters, then connect Soroti Serere, from Serere from Soroti Teso College to Muria via the other side of Jikidak, exiting Aloyet Ward. We were supposed to have connected Muria Kapelebyong up to the ferry, then connect back to Kumi. That infrastructure was designed by the architects and the technical people in the National Development Ministry, in the National Planning Authority, for purposes of boosting the economy of Teso. Teso is economically endowed, but in our silence, that did not take shape. And today, we are again going into the same promises towards the elections. But the NDP, National Development Plan, is costed and budgeted every financial year. The budgets are ending. We are in the final lap. No tarmac has been put from Ngora to Serere. No tarmac from Serere to Soroti. No tarmac from Teso College to Amuria. That is the situation we are in.
But we have always had ministers.
You asked the question.
That this one is in the development plan, this one is in the budget, this one is other, and people have been told to be patient.
I always keep telling people, power concedes nothing without a demand. It has never and it will never. Without people demanding, and we all can't be in parliament. It is the reason we elect someone to go and speak for the people of Soroti East Division as a voice who must come and consult and carry our pains and suffering to the National Assembly. That's why members of parliament have the functions of representing the views and the concerns from the constituency. You legislate, pass laws and policies to address those concerns. And you appropriate, provide a budget to make sure that what is to be addressed, there is sufficient resources. And do oversight. Now, if you pass a policy of NDP, which is approved by Parliament, 5 years down the road, you have remained quiet. Are resources appropriated? Yes. And nothing is implemented from the NDP, National Development Plan, Parliament approved as a policy document. Who is to blame? And you sit in cabinet. You sit at the top as the SEC members of a sub-region, Eastern region. The central policy organ of the NRM is the Central Executive Committee.
That is it.
You sit there for 10 years. In these NDPs of 10 years, those infrastructure have been there. You are dead silent, like dead wood. Then you come back to TESO to ask for another term in SEC. You sit in cabinet, you are quiet. We must accept that if you are dead wood, accept that your time is up. And Attacker must rise up and say, must we continue with the silent voices who are just occupying space to enrich themselves? If you are accumulating wealth for yourself, you are building arcades, you are building private hospitals, and there are no public hospitals. Actually, it is very sad, and politicians are very cunning, that the Uganda National Household Survey report indicates that 54 people out of 100 will not accept to go to a government hospital when they fall sick. And 17 out of 100 will prefer to go to the pharmacy. What are politicians doing? They are opening private hospitals. They are opening pharmacies. But they are comfortable that where the other people cannot go is collapsing, it is okay. And politicians have health insurance.
But there's also this argument, Honorable, that always people say, you say that you should not call, okay, people should not be called opposition.
No, please go ahead, because it is what it is in the Constitution. But I've said it's a wrong framing, because we are not collectively a bloc. The political parties in Parliament cannot be grouped together as opposition, much as the framers called them opposition. In my understanding, sane countries have called them the minority. Because we have two sides of that house, the majority or the minority, the ruling side and the non-ruling side.
Okay, now let's call it minority. Now, why is it that there is this narrative of saying the minority people have never acknowledged what the government is doing? Because they say always that have credit where it is due. Honorable, point blank here, do you have anything that you give credit to this government?
First and foremost, I want to give credit to this government for staying in power for 40 years. It's not easy to maintain staying in power for 40 years. They have done incredibly well to play the dynamics of politics and keep in power. I give them credit. Other past governments fell in a few years. I give them credit for creating stability, regime stability. Unfortunately, the regime stability is getting out of control by what you are seeing with the ministers moving with the police posts. The minister is moving with the police lead car with over 10 police officers, and you wonder where is the insecurity, because we have been told they have succeeded on security.
But you've been in Parliament, Honorable. Is it within the law?
I wonder where the law is. But if someone feels fearing people who voted for them or people who are supposed to represent, then you question the stability.
So that means now even the stability that you're giving them credit to,
the stability
is not your satisfaction. That
the stability is waning away. That's what I'm saying. The insecurity is rising. Because I will tell you, as a student of governance and politics in this country, President Museveni performed exceedingly well between 86 and 1996, the 10 years. And Uganda economic performance was below the tide, but it was able to be lifted. But along the way, and the fatigue that comes with overstaying in power, the layers of corruption, the looting of public resources, we are losing over 500 billion annually to official corruption. Now, with that in place, you realize that the achievements we would be celebrating about and taking and writing home are being washed away by the overstay, by the failures. You know, when you reach the age, my father, a retired head teacher, Mzee ATTAN Patrick, can no longer do what he used to do at the age of 40, 50, 60. He can't. Now, he has to delegate. And over delegation, and when your eyes and hands are off, there are things that will fall off your grip and control. The question of the military in politics had been stabilized, but today you are witnessing a different trend. An MP kidnapped, beaten, and he comes and confesses.
So you want to say that
it's normal life.
You want to say that President Museveni has lost grip to understand what is happening in this
I'm not saying he has lost grip, but I'm saying things are getting out of hand. And just like a father, there are things that get out of your control or your hand by virtue of your age and by virtue of you wanting to pretend over everything. I've told people that countries that have respected term limits are countries that have been able to achieve much. And Uganda got the best out of President Museveni between 1986 and 96. I commend him. Fantastic. And I want to believe that he wished Uganda well. But there is also these people, Mzee, don't go. Mzee, how are you leaving us? They are also creating a situation that makes it very difficult for transformation and transition. I want to believe that President Museveni has nurtured leaders. And he has nurtured leaders who can take over and steer the country. There will be nothing wrong for a peaceful transition. We are not immortal. What happens if, God forbid, the worst happens now?
Honorable, how do you want the question of youth, employment, and social life be answered? Because that is the basis at which the opposition is trying to speak out, that, you know, the youth are not empowered, the youth are unemployed, the youth here and there, their social life is not doing well. Now, as someone who has been in parliament, you have policies that you've always been reading or that you read when you're in parliament about the youth. How best can the question of the youth be answered in this country?
I worked as a senior policy analyst in parliament. I worked as a governance specialist, and I last worked and resigned in USAID GAP program. And in this work field, I have worked, written, and made proposals. And one fundamental thing that we have to accept is that this country has the youngest population. Between 15 and 30 constitute over 70% of this population. But the policy interventions are not 70% towards that category. Are you getting what I'm saying? That we have 70% out of 100 Ugandans. Many of them are in the age bracket of 15 and 30. But the policy intervention, 70%, we are out of 15 and the 80 years. That's out of 30 above and 80 years. That's where we are focused. You cannot have a plane, twin engine plane, with the 70% engine power and 30% engine power, and you fly it into the air when the 70% engine power is dysfunctional. We have a country where the young population has been neglected, ignored, and forgotten. And what do I mean? That much of Uganda's population is dependent on agriculture. If we focused to return the young population in production, agriculture, trust me, we have the comparative advantage.
So what best insight would you put in these programs that government is tailoring towards the youth?
I don't believe in the program of throwing money at people.
So how best would this be? Because I thought by empowering them, get money, go and do things that you can do best as a young man, you'll be able to come out of poverty. Skilling, you have seen.
Let me answer you quickly.
Yes.
That and I will use the illustration of Kenya. Kenya used to get food from Uganda. There are many rich people in Soroti here who used to take food to Kenya. Beans, produce products. Today, go to the main market tomorrow morning, you'll see what Kenya is feeding us. The young people in Kenya are the ones growing and producing. What is Kenya doing? Kenya is giving quality inputs to the young people. Kenya is getting them subsidies in terms of the machinery to use. Kenya is making sure that the young people are supported by agronomists and extension workers. We are even importing cattle like the Frisians, like the Jersey from Kenya. At the end of it, they have gone so far that they package their beef to export. And because of the low productivity of their cattle economy, they are now even picking beef from Teso markets in Kasilo, in Bukedea, in Ochapa, in Arapai, and they are taking it to Kenya, packaging it as beef. While meat packers in Soroti is a shutdown. Government should have done a private-public partnership with Papa Maria and revitalized the Soroti meat packers. Teso is a cattle corridor, bigger than Ankole, and it would have a comparative advantage when the young people go into cattle rearing and sheep and goats. Then we have to accept that Teso, the youth and our grandfathers never grew up using a hoe, a hand hoe to plow. That's why Saimoko was here producing ox plows. And we had the cattle and we used to farm, prepare the gardens using the ox plows and the oxen. Today, our mothers have been turned into the tractors to open fields and do the agriculture. Our productivity from the agriculture sector has collapsed. We have water bodies surrounding Teso. That is where we must focus, that we do not need to depend on rain-fed agriculture. That ema mea kipi, ema medou, then agriculture closes. Kenya has moved out of that. They are even getting underground water. Kenya is more dry than Uganda. They are even getting underground water and they are producing year in, year out. For us, by the time we are waiting for the rain, the Kenyans are producing. When we are producing, they are already taken over the market. Look at Uganda. Kabale used to produce Irish and carrots. Kenyans have taken over. Here, Kenyans have taken over. Mangoes we are eating are more from Kenya. Now, that vacuum must be sorted by policy and interventions. We must also accept that we are not going to offer lip service. I have kept goats. I have kept sheep. And I've told people, farming is not you going to throw $1 million at a ton compared to you giving me the Boer sheep, the Boer goat, and the Dopa sheep. If you gave me the Dopa sheep that weighs 80 kilos in the next 6-7 months, and I have a good breed male one, and I cross it with the local, I'll have better money than you giving me $1 million of cash shillings. If we have extension agriculture workers supported, funded, and facilitated to support the cattle rearing, goat, and sheep, the environment and the grass we have is the best. That's why the Europeans put meat packers first in Teso than any other part of the country. We are revitalizing, returning the railway line. But what are we going to take through that railway line as is at Teso? What do we take to the market daily? What is going to the market is onions from Bugisu, tomatoes from Bugisu. Ours we are taking second-hand clothes, Mivumba. But from what we are producing, we have nothing. Where are the factories, the industrial park? Why is it empty? Don't we have people who can be employed? Thirdly, why are we having local governments with huge staffing gaps? Soroti City leadership is working, the city authority is working on a 26% staffing levels. Out of 100, they have only 26, which means there are over 74 vacancies in Soroti City alone. How about the districts across Teso? But how many graduates do we have whose parents sold the cattle, sold the land, sold and are indebted with the loans? We want to say, and we believe as FDC, that we should go and make this economy a 24-hour economy. And if we had the government, we would turn this economy into a 24-hour economy. What do I mean? You and me, the only thing we share equally is the 24 hours a day. You and an American, the only thing you share is the 24 hours a day. Now, if you have one doctor in the hospital, Bukedea Health Center 4, once he does 8 hours, he goes and he rests. Then the other 16 hours, there is nobody working on patients. If he's to work, he has to work overload. What we are saying, recruit 3 doctors to work in that one position, working on 8 shifts, 3 shifts, 8 hours. That will create 2 more positions for medical doctors in Bukedea Health Center 4. Health Center 3s are supposed to be managed also by clinical officers and doctors. Recruit and create a 3 shift, 8-hour work. Even in production and manufacturing, entice investors that if you work on 3 8-hour shift for 3 shifts, we will give you incentives. That will absorb the unemployed, unproductive youth.